All right, so what we're going to do today, did everybody pick up the handout from the back table? It says The Old Man and the Sea, Hemingway's History. All right, everybody needs one of these. Everybody got one? Okay. So the first thing we're going to do today is I'm going to model for you section 5 about Hemingway and his time in Cuba. All right, so if you all will turn to the back page, it should say, yes ma'am. Yes, please. It's going to say Cuba and World War II. Should look like this. Should be the only thing on the page.
In just a minute.
Alright, so before we start reading this, there, if you guys have seen, if you open your folders, are sets of questions. So here are our questions for section 5. Let me magnify that for you a little bit so you can see it a little better. All right. So let's look at our questions. Where did Hemingway move after returning from Spain? What prize was Hemingway denied due to political reasons? What war did Hemingway cover in the 1940s? What is the name of Hemingway's fishing boat? And what did he use his boat to hunt in 1942? All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to go through and we're going to look specifically for the answers to the questions you guys have got. And then we're also going to, if you come across any extra or interesting facts, we're going to write those down. Right? And then you're going to be the expert in your individual group. Right? You're going to be the expert on the information that we're covering. And what we're going to do is after we've answered our questions, we're going to split off into different groups. And we're going to share our information with our group. So you'll be responsible for, if you have group 1, early childhood, you'll be responsible for answering those questions and sharing that information with your classmates who are not going to have had that. The reason that we're doing this is it saves us from having to assign you all a 5-page biography and give you 25 pages worth of questions to read. And so we're going to work a little smarter instead of harder. We're going to come together, we're going to discuss it, and talk about it, and get some information. We're going to have a good time today. All right. So the first thing we want to do, once we have these, is what I would recommend. You can record the information. I'll be like, I'm going to show you how I would like for you to do it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write over here my first question.
We write this down?
Yes, I'm going to model this one for you since there's only going to be 4 groups. So we're going to answer these questions together as we're going to read through and we're going to mark up our passage. Okay, so where did Hemingway, I'm going to abbreviate Hemingway with an H, so we don't have to write it over and over and over again. Move after returning from Spain. All right, so that's our first question that we want to answer. All right?
Wait, do we have to do that?
No, okay. Let me clarify that. Each section has its own set of questions. Each group has their own set of questions. Every group is going to have different material. Right? So some people are going to have material about Key West in Africa. Some people are going to have information about his early years in childhood, the time about his Paris years. And this is the fifth section, the final section of it, is Cuba and World War II. And we're going to do that together. So when we get back, we're going to answer these questions in a group, we're going to write them down so that when you split off to your other groups to share your information, right, so that everyone will have the questions, will know what questions we have, and we won't have just a bunch of answers that don't have any context for us. Right? So we need to copy down the questions as we come to them. All right, we're also going to say, what prize was Hemingway denied war What did he cover in the 1940s? What is the name of his boat?
Is it was or is?
What is the name of his boat? Because the boat is actually still around. It's actually a historical landmark in Cuba. All right. And since we're abbreviating Hemingway, what we're going to do is we're going to put up here H equals Hemingway.
What's question number 5?
Question 5 is what did Hemingway hunt in 1942? All right, so we have our questions. We want to read our questions and know what our questions are before we start reading so that we know what we're looking for as we're trying to read through. We're going to look for the things we're looking to spot, the things we want to pick out, as well as any other interesting facts that we come across as we read it. Now, your interesting facts you can record in the same area, you can record here. All right, so
What does it say?
Which
Prize was.
what prize was Hemingway, so we abbreviated Hemingway, denied? What prize was he denied? So we're just about done with questions? Yes. Okay. All right, now if you don't get them all, let me know and I'll come around and make sure you get them. Okay. All right, so we're gonna put our article up here on the overhead. All right, we're gonna take this a section at a time.
Can I read?
I'm going to start reading a little bit. First, I'm going to demonstrate kind of what we're looking to do as we have these articles. We're working through them. Yes, Joseph?
I need an article.
Well, the group has an article. All right, we're going to do this together. All right, this is the art. Yeah, this is the one we're working on right now. We have a couple of copies we're going to share. We're going to read it aloud. We're going to do this one together as a group. We're going to take turns reading, and we're going to answer all the questions together. All right, so after returning from Spain and divorcing Pauline, Hemingway and Martha moved to a large house outside of Havana, Cuba. They named it Finca Vigia, or the Lookout Farm. And Hemingway decorated it with hunting trophies from his African safari. He had begun to work on For Whom the Bell Tolls in 1939 in Cuba and worked on it on the road as he traveled back to Key West or to Wyoming or to Sun Valley, finishing it in July of 1940. All right, so let's take a look at that first bit of information that we read there. All right, so what's our first question? What's the answer we're looking for? We're looking to find out.
Where did he move?
Where did he move after returning to Spain? All right, Emily? Havana, Cuba.
Well, that's the capital of Cuba.
It is the Havana of Cuba. All right, so we're going to underline this. And I'll come around with some vis-a-vis markers once you guys start doing your own, so you can mark on these. That's why we laminated them for you. All right, so we know the answer to our first question is Havana, Cuba. So H moved to Havana, Cuba. That's a C, not an M. All right, so Jen, you said you wanted to read it. You'll take the next sentence or two.
Which one?
Starting after finishing it in July of 1940, starting with the book was a huge success.
Book was a huge success, both officially with critical and commercially. Promoting Sinclair Lewis's right that it was the American book published 3 years past, which was most likely to survive, to be known 50 years from now, possibly 100. It might just probably be a masterpiece, a classic. Oddly, the book was unanimously voted the best novel of the year by the Pulitzer Prize committee, but was vetoed for political reasons and conservative president of Columbia University. No prize was awarded that year. The book sold over 500,000 copies in 6 months. Continues to sell today.
Okay. So what did we see in that passage that we found either answered one of our questions or we thought was an interesting detail about Hemingway and his life. Emily?
Question, what prize was he denied? It was the
The Pulitzer. All right, so we know he was denied the Pulitzer. All right, so we're going to come back to our answer sheet here.
Can you move the sheet up? Will?
I sure will. I just want to. All right. Everybody see that? Hemingway was denied the Pulitzer Prize. All right. And was there anything else in that first paragraph that we thought was interesting facts? Anything we thought we didn't know about before? Somebody besides Emily, maybe? Maybe. Antonio, what about you? Do you see anything interesting about that in that first section? All right. While you're double checking, Haley?
sold over 500,000 copies.
All right, so it's a very, very well-selling book. So the book sold over 500,000 copies in just 6 months. All right, so what are we going to do with that interesting fact that we found? We're going to put it on our paper. All right, so we can come back here. And I'm just going to put this down here at the bottom so that we keep our questions in order, but we're going to make sure that we underline this because, why are we going to underline it? Because it's the title of the book. All right. Sold 500,000 copies in 6 months. All right, so that's one interesting fact that we came across as we were reading. All right, and that's what we're going to do as we're reading through this. We're going to come up with more interesting facts. Antonio.
Still sells today.
Still sells well today. We'll add that to that. Just put a comma. Still sells well today. All right. All right, so let's move then to the next section of what we're doing here. All right. All right, so let's see. Emily, you want to take the next one for me? Take the next sentence, next section.
The next 10 years should be creatively followed period for Hemingway. It would be 1950 before he would publish another novel. But while he was more interested in bolstering his public image at the expense of his work, he was actually immersed in several large writing projects which he could never seem to complete. During the 1940s, he worked on what would become the heavily edited and
Posthumously.
Published novels, Islands in the Stream and The Garden of Eden.
All right, so we had two terms there that we may not be familiar with. The first one, Chad? What's that? Posthumously. All right, so we look at that word. What roots do we see there that might help cue us into the meaning? Post means what?
After?
It means after. So when might something be edited after?
A book?
A book, okay. We might edit a book, but when? What do we think humus means? What roots do we think we might have there?
Humor?
Humor, maybe humor. What about human? Humus. So maybe after his life. All right. Posthumous means it was published after he died. All right, so if we come across terms we don't know, what do you think we're going to do with those? Put them in the corner here. I say put your terms you don't know in the side. All right, there was another word there that I thought you might not know, but fallow. Does anybody know what fallow means?